possible to re-advertise for additional members to represent other constituents in the county to ensure that the committee serves its stated purpose. My experience has been that the best decisions are achieved when all good ideas from a variety of constituents are represented at the table. Failing the ability to re-advertise, I wonder if you'd be willing to go back to all the appointees with the goal of sharing my concern and asking if one individual is willing to step down to permit another member to attend in his stead. My understanding is that the other county residents / representing other constituents have expressed an interest in serving. Regarding the request for a new vehicle, I support the department's request, knowing that safety and physical responsibility have informed that request. Thank you for your attention. Carol Ford, Town of Big Falls.
Ralph Fisher.
Parks and Rec.
Oh, is there more public comments?
Oh, yeah, sorry
Well,
about
as
that.
long as I'll respond to that then. I am not an ATV enthusiast in any way, shape, or form. I'm a public access person. So, just so long as everyone understands that.
I would agree with that. I think the first time in about the last 10 years I've been on an ATV in the county land was last week when I was inspecting trails, so I would say that I'm not a ATV enthusiast either.
Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore you. Anybody else?
Yeah. Again, back to the ad hoc committee, Rod Elleringer and I were out this past Thursday, north of Ingram up by my cabin. And, while we were out, one of the things that we ended up talking about was one of the spots that we did find that clear back probably to 2015 when I was suggesting that we take some of the stumpage money and put it back into repair some of the spots. And in this case would be just to build one short little trail around the bad spot, so we've got a good trail, because one spot shuts down the whole trail. From there, we got to talking about the carbon credit money that supposedly someday we'll get. Right now, I think, if I've heard everything right, because we're accepting this, we're already into the program, but we're not getting any money until, I don't know, 2029?
No, we've been getting it before, I think.
Oh, well, let's hope.
Once we clarify the Soul Trail situation. The DNR's approval.
Well, I think that we've gotten to that myself,
Yeah,
but anyway, back to the carbon,
I don't want to interrupt them, go ahead.
back to the carbon credit money. So is that carbon credit money earmarked for something already, or is there a chance of taking a percentage of that carbon credits money and pointing it in this direction for, fixing these small spots that shut down the whole trail? So that's one of my questions. Another thing that I've got is the fact that this Saturday is the Wisconsin ATV Association regional meeting at Flaters, which I was at the county board meeting and invited all of our county board people, and I would invite everyone that's in here down to it. The registration is between 8 and 9. The meeting will run from 9 to about 11:30. There will be a meal. They will have a guided ride down into the Chippewa County Forest. There's going to be several side-by-sides with empty seats provided for people that don't bring their own machine. Please attend so that people know and understand what the ATV end of the world is all about. We've got too many county board people that have never been on one, never been in a side-by-side that make these decisions. So we need them more informed. Yesterday, Jared and Mike, George, Don, and I had Dan Thole from the State Off-Road Vehicle Council in the Blue Hills. He had a chauffeur by the name of Mark Tomasevich, drive him because Dan is recovering from having a pacemaker implanted and he couldn't drive a wheeler yet. And so we went up and we rode the proposed 7.5 miles of trail. But that grant request has gone in for funding of $630,000. So hopefully by Dan riding it, he can answer any questions at the funding meeting that takes place August 31st. And I do see on the agenda that Mike and Jared will be down there for the 30th and the 31st for snowmobile ATV. My 3 minutes must be up.
I think ours says 5, right?
3.
It was
3. 3, we were at 4.
Okay, Ross, did you?
No, I was just, so, you said once the DNR approves it, so, like, basically our plan right now hasn't been approved?
Jared would be the one to answer that, so.
Well, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it also had to do with that spot up in the Blue
Yeah.
Hills being completely fixed.
That was a hinge, I think, on it.
So it's contingent on that as well.
That's where it started at, so. George?
We are continually maintaining the ATV trails in the form of grading when needed and where needed, and we're also doing a lot of brushing. So, maintenance going on.
Up on the south of the Meadow Dam on that outlook where they got the picnic tables, any chance of putting a little sign up there or something, telling where the CC camp was at? I think we got a picture of it here. Not that I get another one of it. A lot of people stop there, it's a destination. But when you look out there, just trees and brush now, you can see what was there at one time, there's like 350 people. Spend time out there.
Just like a historical marker.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. I'm sure if you okay, then we probably get some volunteers to put it up, so forth. The other comment I had is, we did a forestry sign up on the trail, today south of Dijon. Forestry operation, operation, or something to that effect. All I got now.
I'll go to parks, you might like everybody smoke.
Alright, spoke with Jeff Eby, he got the bid for the Potato Lake Snowmobile Bridge project, and he has started construction on that bridge. And that's a 65-foot arch bridge, going up the outlet of Potato Lake. So that is underway, and hopefully we'll get that done this summer. We do have other bridges that we're gonna be bidding out here, so. Also met with Dennis Arndt, he is the Ladysmith Snowmobile Club president, and we verified the location, or new location of the Thornapple Bridge site that we had identified, and also looked at some reroutes of where the trail would go up to meet that bridge on both sides of Little Thornapple Road. So, I did apply for that permit for that bridge, yeah.
Okay, but what you do, move it in further east?
We moved it in east and then north, because the river goes east and then north, straight north.
So you're up on private property then?
Yeah. Yep, and we did get an easement for that, but since we moved it, we wanted to make sure that it was okay for that land, that was good, yeah, the new location, which he was fine with, so, and Dennis has been working with him, so. But yeah, we definitely wanna have good communication with the landowners for projects like this, especially if you're doing rerouting and things like that of the trail. And then Highway Department has started hauling gravel on our Peterborough ATV trail. They covered roughly 2 miles of primary that was hauled up there last winter. So they got that just about covered. There's 1.5 miles left down there of both primary and 1.25 inches. materials coming out of the Murphy pit. Not sure, they have other work right now that they're doing, so right now that is on pause, so hopefully they can get back to hauling more material on that trail, because we would really like them to try and get some primary health. The trail is holding up, but they are punching through in a few places, and I figure there's another 200 truckloads of material to be put out there, so we may have to pull the plug if it doesn't stay dry, or if the conditions of the trail don't allow the heavy truck travel. So, later on, you'll notice that we are gonna be asking for bid request of that project if this doesn't get done, completed by highway here in the next month, so. we'll talk about that in a minute. Interns are back to mowing, and we had a dry spell, so they were able to do other things, which is good, actually. They were able to do some painting and some brushing. The campsites tend to grow in, so every year it's a battle to get them kept open. So they did have a few weeks to be able to do a lot of that type of work. So that was good, but I imagine in the next couple of weeks that here they're gonna be helping us put up signs for that outdoor ordinance. So it would definitely be nice to have them help with that. That's all I have.
Anybody have any questions? If not, Timbersdale.
Alright, timber sales, it's gotten fairly busy the last month since pole coat restrictions went off. Ted Struck has 5 jobs going right now, got a hardwood thinning over on the Barron County line off of 22nd Avenue. Getting close to done with an oak shelter wood off of DeJong Road. He's working on a hardwood thinning on County F. Another thinning on County O and a thinning on County W just opened up yesterday. Northwest Hardwoods, they have 3 jobs going. They're basically done on County W, in the curves there. They're working off of old County W there. They got a hardwood thinning, they're just starting on Lucia Road, and then another one off of DeJong Road. Both Northwest Hardwoods and Ted Struck have been doing some closeout work on road work on sales too. Cumberland Timber just got going the last few days on the sale off the fire lane. Then Peter Crone cut that pine sale on the fire lane, he finished that up, there's just some wood to haul there, so. Been fairly busy running around scaling wood, keeping guys going, so. Any questions?
I just heard that Sheldon McKinley are going to lead the county. We've got the first emerald ash borer for Rusk County. Why do we have to lead that way? Administrators report?
Yeah, so we are fairly busy, like Danny said. Everything I hear though from contractors is that the timber market is pretty horrible, especially for hardwood pulp. Hopefully they can keep moving stuff enough to get by and be carried by the log market. Had a conference call with the carbon credit people on June 29th. No new news there. Still looking at Q4 of this year of issuance of our credits. Potentially payment to us in Q1 of next year. Highway department's been working for us a bit on some things. Me and Mike were out there with a couple of highway guys on the stream crossing trouble road that we've been dealing with North Meadow Dam. Work there is done. I think it went pretty good that day. Went you agree, Mike? Couple of good operators with the highway department. Me and Mike were throwing rocks around, smashing fingers. Nolan Kriegel, DNR Forest hydrologist. I don't think he's been out there yet. I sent him some pictures. He said it looks like it went well. I think we're gonna be good there. Had highway also do some closeout work on the road with some water bars, and then we seeded it in the next few days. So that project, as far as I'm concerned, is done. I'm hoping to meet Nolan out there someday if we can find time, you know, in the near future. Highway as well, we're have been, yep.
Does he have to come and look at it to sign up or
And,
not?
I'd like to though, so I can talk to him, feel him out on some things, but. I
Make
would,
you a little more confident on it.
yeah,
Been there.
before someone drives through it, destroys it, but many do.
Have them come right away.
Yeah.
Well, the next day there were tracks from 3 ATVs that went through the wetland that leads to it. So what are you gonna do? Highway department has been mowing some roadside stuff for us as well. They did the Lee Lake Dam spillway. They're gonna mow the Perch Lake Road that we maintain as well as Audie Lake driveway for us. When I say mow on that, I mean brush cut the right way. Tractor, sidearm mower deal. And they will be doing our Hunter walking trail mowing with the skid steer. Probably pretty quick here in the next week or two, we'll get started on that. As you know, we use habitat money that we get from the state. It's called the nickel an acre money. To mow those, so. Let's see, also, they're gonna do some dozer work on Hunter walking trail grant project as well, in the near future. The DNR, I was informed there's gonna do some mowing by Lee Lake on some of those trails using elk stamp funding. And wildlife LTEs that they have out of their Hayward office. They asked if we wanted that done, I said, sure, if you wanna mow something for us, go ahead. Our signs for the off-road vehicle use stuff finally came this morning. You know what we'll be doing for the next 2 weeks. I'll be reaching out to you guys as well about potentially getting help with those. We still have some organizing to do with maps and whatnot. If you don't hear from me the next day or two, go ahead and reach out. That's about all I got, other than Emerald Ash Borer was found in Rusk County and Sheldon, but they'll beat me to it. It's bad news, but expected. I don't know if you've been in southern Wisconsin recently, but there's not very many live ash left down there.
Where's it at? What I thought,
In Sheldon.
It was just Sheldon.
Phil.
Yeah, so 69 to 72 counties now have reported it since 2008 when it was first found in the state. But it doesn't really change a whole lot. The county's done a really good job of kind of planning for it, and they utilize a lot of ash trees out on their timber sales that they're establishing them. So we'll see where it goes, but it wasn't unexpected.
That's all I got.
Okay, for Jared? Budget development.
Budget development, Phil was in there, the finance committee, we went through the budget is that last week?
Yeah, last.
Nothing real earth shattering on that.
Oh, you got that?
Yeah, let's go on. Nothing earth shattering. There's a few changes, trying out some things to make it match what we actually spend on communications and some other stuff, and then that, the old loan money from the DNR that we would pay back with timber sale revenue, 20% of our revenue until it was paid off, that we decided not to take this year. We put the remaining amount of that into, or left it in there, and then backfilled the remaining amount of that to add that to the Forestry budget. So rather than having some roundabout financial accounting extra work, just gonna do it that way. move some employee pay benefit around a little bit. Because we have 2 foresters rather than 2 technicians. So Jake will be paid out of the forestry budget rather than half out of the parks, it'll be 100% forestry, as it should be. Any questions on the budget? One thing for the future that we didn't talk about at all, but was in my head about the budget in the future. At some point, we're looking to hopefully do some, and Pat can talk on this too if he has anything to add, but we're looking to do some prescribed burning on oak stands to do regeneration, and I don't know the financial cost of that. Certainly the state will be helping with that. I haven't looked into that, but it's something to think about for the future. We're gonna have to have some money set aside to accomplish that, to regenerate our oak, which is probably one of the most valuable trees we have in the Blue Hills for sure.
Yeah, I'd say we're still probably, I don't know, a handful of years out from our first burn, but it's an option if the county chooses to do so. Sawyer County's been doing it for a number of years now, pretty successfully, I would say, but results take a while to see. It just ensures that oak remains in the landscape, you know, and isn't outcompeted by other species that you've got coming in after harvest. And there's a lot of different options the county can look at as far as how invested they want to be with the burn program. We use county time standard hours for providing that service. So, and then there's some additional charges that come in with equipment operation, which are pretty minimal. I would say, you know, we spend a handful of days a year out there doing the burn, so it's not real extensive. It just depends on how invested the county wants to get with it, with personnel and equipment, that type of thing.
So, I guess for, is it something where they don't germinate once you do a burn? Or you're trying to eliminate other species? But if you eliminate other species, it doesn't kill the oak trees when you do a burn?
So a quick silviculture lesson for you. Silviculture is the art and science of growing trees. Oak does not need fire to germinate. The acorn will germinate if it's in mineral soil. Red oak will germinate in the spring and start growing. White oak germinates in the fall right away, I think. But either way, they put a lot of energy into their roots early in life. They'll stay this tall for 5 to 10 years. A couple leaves, maybe a little more, maybe some growth. But they put a lot of energy into their roots.
Like a tap root?
Yep. And so a fire, the idea with a fire, which is why we have so much oak in the first place, is because there are historic fires up there after the great cutover. So a fire goes through and top kills everything, oak included. But the oak with all that extra energy in the roots is able to sprout again stronger. So what I've kind of been told, they're learning at some trainings, is that sometimes one fire and you'll have, the oak will be strong enough against maple, aspen, or whatever, that it can be a dominant part of that stuff in the future. Sometimes it takes several burns before the oak can be, you know, other species like maple, aspen, ash, basswood, a lot of those, they'll weaken every time you top kill them. They're not dumping as many reserves as the forest. However they evolve or whatever to live in a fire ecosystem, a system where it burns regularly, works out well for them. Another option is just cutting them at the ground level, accomplishes the same thing with sprout. But that's way more expensive. Does that work for you?
That works.
Primarily eliminates competition. Reduce some competition, yeah.
Anything else? If not, Dodson's call.
You wanna put that in that book? We were contacted by Jonathan West, who actually helped us design and create this golf course out of the Dotson property, the Chippo property. That road you see on the south side is Dotson Road. We have 9 holes there. He was hoping that we would put in another 9 holes, and he would like to be a part of that. If we do it, it probably has to go north. You can see the way the trees are there. That was actually the old fairways from the previous landowner. So they had a golf course out there. So we do utilize that as much as we can. And we will be also if we go another 9. So, I sent him, some maps, and he was gonna write up a proposal and a design for us for the kit, which we would bring here then to get approval. So it's an FYI, I guess, at this point, but just wanted to let you know we've been contacted about it. And I think it's seeing some fairly good use. I mean, we definitely get phone calls if we've missed the mowing out there. So, people are using it.
Mr. Swanky said he'd donate some improvements out there. He really participate.
Do you need to go ahead for the other 9, or?
I would say not at this time. This is more of just an informational,
Okay.
because I'd like him to give us a proposal, like he did originally for this. He came here and did a presentation, and I would like him to do that again. And then at that time, we can get approval. Or have any questions for him.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, if not, public trails ad hoc recommendations. Who's addressing that?
I can start. Did you guys get the pictures, Nick?
I did, yeah. Did John send those to you or not?
So, we did field verification on some trails in behind Lee Lake that cut from the, main trail around over to a couple of pieces of private. And then Ross and his dad, and I think maybe Bob did some over in the Glen Flora block. I have pictures of, I mean, these are nice, hard roads. There's not even a water hole in them after 2.5 inches of rain. Not even a mud puddle. So, I don't know how those got, kicked off originally, but they're definitely high ground, aspen around there. Been like that, been driven on like that for 40 years. The vegetation on the, ground is, they're nice trails. The ones that I looked at by Lee Lake, these guys will have to speak to the ones like Glen Flora.
Yeah, I've got a number of trails that we would like to add too. Some of them were just logged here within the last year. There's stuff coming up behind my side by side, so they're good. I don't know what process you guys wanna go through to go through them or to look at them, or I've got them on this little map here, but
I don't know if Rob sent in what, we did.
he should have, yeah.
Yeah, he was doing it with his phone. And, there was really only the one that I kinda talked about, some of this carbon credit money, but this little bit of a trail. Fix it around it. There's always been a little trail around that spot, but then when they were in there and logged it, when it was all done, they've got all of the tops in where it used to be nice to go around it. The rest of the trail was wonderful. So,
Well, if you fix a small section, you could add a whole bunch more.
yes.
Yeah, that's the case. There's another, well, it's actually the snowmobile trail where it goes east to Hackett Road. There's really no access for, from our original map, that center section of that Hackett block, we really don't have any access, so it would be nice to get something in there, and
Ross, is that snowmobile trail just north of Wilson Road?
no, it's way up between Cut Off and Skinner Creek. Yeah, on the north third of it, probably. But we,
Okay.
we checked that snowmobile trail out, and I would like to open it, it's on this map, to open it like that first quarter mile, cause that's really good, but then after that quarter mile, there's like a, I don't know, 75 or 100-yard stretch that you're climbing up the hill. I mean, I didn't even attempt it with my side-by-side. I pulled the front two tires in there. I knew what was gonna happen. So obviously, if we open that right now, that's gonna get torn up, and you're gonna have, you know, your ruts are gonna be more than the 10 inches by 6 to 6 feet. But they've been logging in there pretty much every winter for the last few winters. It would be nice, you know, when we get a spot like that, if we could address it in some way or form, because if we could fix up that 75 yards, it would open up a whole bunch of stuff on the other side of it. Now, you know,
This goes back to me saying several times, with the trails, and there's gonna be a logging job in there. When the logger goes in to open it up, when he's taking his cat in there, it's not gonna take him much longer to ditch and crown that trail. And we should be providing him with a culvert. If a culvert is warranted, and then it's high ground instead of trapping water and run it up.
I think a problem you come into in those situations is if there's a culvert warranted, you know, they still have a silvicultural exemption, and once the logging job is done, that silvicultural exemption no longer exists. So there's no exemption for rubber-tired recreational vehicles to go through those same areas necessarily. And if you start talking about placing culverts, then you start getting into a whole other realm with, you know, hydrologists coming in there and getting permits and that type of thing. So I haven't seen these areas, so I have no idea.
so this specific,
Just a cautionary
this specific spot I'm talking about is not even in a wetland. I mean, you're
high ground.
you're 2/3 of the way up that hill climbing, you know, and it's
Spring coming out of the side of the hill.
yeah, it's gotta be. It's just I mean, I'm sure it obviously would be illegal to do so, but you could mow around the outside of it and probably not get a tire wet. So, you know, there's several spots like that.
Was it caused by poor bulldozing though when they were in the problem?
It's still growing up, not right now, it's hard to tell. I wouldn't doubt it, cause there's another spot northwest of Bergseth Road that I know was caused by poor bulldozing. Again, it's high ground and you got a pond, a small pond that's just the size of a trail, where if you went around either side of it, that, you know, you won't even get a wet tire, so.
There's so many of these that it's just a water trap, and if you could put an outlet on it, there probably wouldn't be water in it.
Correct.
It's just a water trap, it's because they went too deep with the blade.
And they've been,
Cat,
year after year, you
60,
know,
70, 80 years ago.
job after
Just
job,
there.
they've just been, keep pushing it out and basically make it ditch.
So that picture is the one I sent in, obviously, right? Nick?
I think, yeah.
So that goes out to Pat Morgan's, that's his field right there, it's probably a quarter mile or less. That is the day after 2.5 inches of rain, and it just poured down rain for 3 hours that night. There's not even a water puddle sitting there. But they've been utilizing it. It just, you know, the vegetation is knocked down a little bit, but I've been riding on these trails or hunting on these trails mostly for 45 years as a child, and those trails have looked exactly like that for the entirety of my life. So, and that's the one that just cuts off and goes to the backside of Holtz and Wiles' land. It's just right through a kind of a mowed field the county's mowed in the past. I don't know, maybe the landowners have even mowed that trail a time or two. And that's how much vegetation is on there. You know, the entirety of my life, it's looked like that. It's high and dry.
Where's that one at, Jay?
That one is after you leave the main access trail from Lee Lake, cutting over to the split of Morgan and Wiles's. That's the main trail coming in there. And they are absolutely high and dry, and even where it shows wetland on the map, I mean, there's popple trees this big and not even a puddle and not even a tag over there. So.
Well, and so the original map was without actually going out there and checking and stuff, so it was kind of a guess in a way.
Correct.
So I would think that, maybe in the future we could add it to the agenda, maybe, maybe, I don't know how often you guys are gonna be checking these out, but if it's a monthly thing, we could just add it to the agenda and we could start adding the sections we know are good to the map. And then the other ones where you talk about what's some work we could do better, maybe you guys can get like a priority list, like, you know, if we do this, it's gonna cost this much, but we might have a bigger section or whatever.
So, I asked them at our last committee, just for the slam dunks, the one that should have never not made the map originally, and I think that's what we're looking at mostly, right, to start with. It's a long-term deal, and we intend on going out there and
Right.
spending a bunch of
There's
time
lot
doing
to-
it, but.
A lot to go over.
Yeah. Honestly, on the Lee Lake, if these two trails were open, so those private people had access and, you know, to get to the county forest behind their property, that block, in my opinion, and that's a block I typically use, is really accessible. There might be one that someone asked me about, but it's got a few water holes in it, but there's access from different areas to go in there too, so. If those would get approved, that block would be pretty good and we could start working out from there, you know, and I could help some of these other guys.
Right. I would assume like these first couple meetings, like now, I mean, I got, what, 4, 5, 6 trails I'd like to add. You know, maybe the next meeting, there's a couple more that we look at and are good, but
At first, you're gonna have a lot more and then it's gonna.
yeah, you know, we'll still have them that we would like to fix up, but, I mean, you know, some of these, well, when we first started this as the middle of winter, we didn't know what it was going to really look like, cause they've been logging in there and stuff. So that's kinda why we're adding them now. You know, like some of these trails off the Felix Road, or, excuse me, west of the River Road that I'd like to add, before they logged in there, you couldn't even tell those things were trails. But now, they're perfect, like there's no reason they can't be open now, I mean, there isn't a one puddle in them, so. That's one reason they weren't on the map prior to now.
Now, I would ask Mike this question, where you're talking on, the Felix Road. Once upon a time, you and I talked about, where the snowmobile trail, goes to the west on the Felix Road, just north of that, going to the east, they were logging up in there. Then there was some talk of a project coming down from the north, and they were going to connect.
They meet now.
They did connect, according to Rod. So going forward then, are we gonna make that into an ATV trail / snowmobile trail?
I talked to Mike about the snowball part. We're working on a snowball part, so.
Yeah.
Those are crown to ditch too.
Well,
That
see,
north,
and
that
so
north
now
chunk is
it's,
one
it's
that's
already pre-built to make that into a stretch of ATV trail, and now we get $800 a mile from the ATV fund. To me, that's called a home run, it's a dual trail one.
So do we need, is having the ad hoc committee of recommendations on the agenda, is that enough that we can vote on when the map changes?
Well, those are the guys that are gonna have to answer the DNR. DNR's not gonna come and talk to the ad hoc committee, so those guys have to believe in it, you know.
We appointed them to verify trails, correct?
Believe in it, accept it, whatever.
Right, so if we wanna, I mean, if Jared has an issue, if he thinks that, hey, there's something I disagree, whatever reason, I would by all means listen to Jared.
Yeah.
Say, all right, let's look at this, but if they have some recommendations, can we vote on it, you know, ask Jared's opinion to weigh in on it? I don't know if you've seen any of those trails, if you feel that they're not.
I'd have to look at a map, and I know Rod was in my office talking about a couple in particular, and I checked the wetland mapping the state has, and they both have wetland on them. The one is also a elk, grant road to access some food plot stuff that they put in, the DNR put in a few years ago. And they would prefer that it stays closed regardless of the wetlands.
I read it, it doesn't say anything about that.
No, it doesn't require that it's non-motorized.
In fact,
It actually, yeah.
in fact, there's a line in the contract that says something about, promoting recreation.
Trail maintenance and public access.
So I can about guess how that conversation went, with Jeremy when those food plots got put in. And those food plots aren't like, oh, you're going down the trail, boom, wide open food plot. Most of them are tucked off, kinda tucked off, so, I mean, we could put a trail closed sign right, you know, at the entrance to those food plots or whatever. So, yeah, and that trail that Jared's talking about, I mean, again, that would be a pretty important trail. It's extremely dry right now. I drove with my side-by-side two-wheel drive.
Originally, that was ditched and crowned and fixed up, it has culverts in it in places.
Yeah.
You're going back in there a mile and a half before you run into anything.
Before you hit that creek.
Besides the fact, I'm absolutely floored that this county is promoting elk with the damage that has occurred right across the river. I mean, they're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last few years that we are trying to drag them down into our forest is absolutely sickening to me that we're promoting that.
Actually, those food plots are to try to draw the elk away from the egg plant.
Well, how's that
Not to
working?
draw it.
It's not working.
They get mowed once every 2 years.
It's not working.
I got food plots on my land, I know what they'd look like if I mowed them once every 2 years.
Got the sad part about that, I'm gonna back Jay up 110% from a Farm Bureau standpoint, which I sit on. When you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage to agriculture, and you guys go seed whatever in food plots, I don't understand why, and I'm not gonna pin this strictly on you, but I'm gonna say it right out, why a bunch of educated people cannot understand that animal is gonna walk an extra half a mile or a mile to feed on corn or soybeans or alfalfa versus an over-mature grass. The deer do it every day, and the elk are gonna be no different. When they learn that awesome food
I'm not
sources are.
disagreeing with you on it.
Last year, they were taking helicopters and chasing the elk out of the sour farm and pouring blood meal on the corn to try to keep them out of there. And then we got these mowed fields a half a mile away that are supposedly mowed and the elk don't visit them. I mean, and they're coming back after the helicopter chases
I've
them
never
out.
seen an elk track by them food plots in the
Can
winter.
we go back to the trails for now?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that is part of it. They want the
Yeah.
trail open, but they wanna close it because of the elk. I mean, the two that I'm talking about are Lee Lake, are slam dunks. There's no wetland there. There's not even a remote amount of wetland there. It shows, you know, the bottom end of the wetland on the map that Nick and John provide, but there's not even there's not even a puddle.
Well, we are in a drought, even though we had 2 inches of rain, it's still a drought conditions out there, so I wouldn't measure everything on, based on what we've seen.
Well, yes, I realize that, but the proof of that is that trail has looked just like that for 45 years. No different, no change.
And this is supposed to be a working,
A living
a fluid document, yes, that if,
we see something down the road and we're like, alright, we need to, you know, something to add up.
and there are spots on here that right now you could drive, for instance, that same trail, there's a spot that we gotta close it. Right now, you can drive through there without
I believe it.
without turning up any mud at all, but I've been on that trail my whole life, and I know 9 years out of 10, it's not like that. So, it's not, you know, I'm not dumb enough to say, just because it's dry right now, we should open it this year, because I know 9 years out of 10, it's not gonna be like that. So, I mean, I wouldn't say we're just willy-nilly just trying to open everything based off of nothing.
Well, with that elk trail, getting back to that, and the snowmobile trail just north of it that ties into it. Mapped wetlands online do cross that trail, so I'm not sure how to go about dealing with that with the DNR. Don't think we can legally allow motor traffic in a wetland. I could be wrong.
So the snowmobile trail just north of it, I know my dad put it on there, it's dry right now.
Yep. and there's
I would say
wetland.
that's one that probably should not be open, because most years, it's almost like a bog off
It
the
looks
road.
like a lake right off the road sometimes.
Sometimes it can, so, I mean,
Where are we talking?
well, where the new snowmobile trail now goes east off of River Road through that clear cut. I mean, it's only a quarter-mile stretch where it hits the old snowmobile trail, and the old snowmobile trail is, you can drive that every year.
I haven't been on that, but everybody that I've talked to since it's been put in, talk about it, just a butthole.
Yeah, right now you wouldn't know it, it's pretty dry, but there's other years where it's not even fun to walk down, so.
So I have a question for you guys on the board. Are you gonna take our recommendations, or are we wasting our time? On the ones that, I'm talking about the ones that I did for sure. Cause those
No,
are slam dunks.
You're not wasting your time. I do have one question, so. Per the agenda, did we legally okay some of this as is printed on the agenda?
When I asked Heidi, it said is it open to action? I don't know if it's,
I put that on there as is written, public trails ad hoc committee recommendations under discussion and possible motion.
Okay.
So legally, I believe that you can.
Okay.
But, ask Rich. And I haven't seen where your trails are, and I don't know this.
So we have a map, we can show where that's at, so we're gonna.
But we certainly want to look at the mapped wetlands to make sure there's not a wetland, even though it looks great. Okay, then.
So he's bringing it up.
Good. Trails that are marked black on that map, what's the process to change that? Who would you adjust that?
Which ones are?
One in particular is off of W, going up in the area by the Felshire. Not to the Felshire, but the nice, the Slack Road maybe that goes in there, off the end of Slack Road?
John, hit that part.
I'm not sure what the black.
Jay, do you know which one?
yeah, yeah. Can I walk up there and point
Yeah,
to?
go for it.
You wanna point on the one right behind you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that one's there.
He doesn't want you by him.
So where this one comes around, it's these two right here, this red one here, coming out to Morgan's, and out to Wiles is right there. It's this here. There's no wetland here at all, there's nothing there.
Is that the edge of the county?
Yeah, this is private here.
I don't know how to. I'm not trying to say we can't open anything. I don't know how to handle that, the road above that's already marked as being open goes right through the wetland, as you can see. I think that road has been crowned and ditched in the past.
And they mow it typically every year with tractors and.
Yeah, I think that's a portion of the one.
That's a snowmobile only trail? Snowmobile trail?
I think that one was gonna be open.
It's been used with ATVs since the
Since
mid
that was-
seventies.
Yeah.
Or earlier, since there was the first 110 Honda out there.
The question that I'm unaware of is how the state's gonna react when a road through a wetland is built on silvicultural exemption and then used for another use. I don't know the answer to that. Not sure who to
It's not
ask.
allowed without engineering the road without the specs.
What's that?
It wouldn't be allowed with the silviculture exemption. Beyond that, to operate or retired vehicles through a wetland. Not saying there is a wetland, I don't know, I'm seeing,
No,
you're saying there isn't, so.
Pat, the worst part about these wetlands, and I'm gonna lay it right on the line with you. Half of my farm by you guys is considered a wetland, and I can farm it every year of my life. I'm 55 years old, and I've been farming it. when you guys come out, you say it's a wetland.
We're not the one going out there,
Well,
Terry, so
DNR.
what's saying you guys?
But, so some of this stuff that they say is a wetland is done strictly off of some aerial map, but I guess it's not.
I think they go and do site visits, right? And they collect the information and look at plants and, I don't know, Mike's built plenty of trails, I don't know what's all.
We have to get a,
If I'm building a trail and I see, oh, it's gotta go through a mapped wetland, like, it has to go there, I try to avoid all the wetlands. But if it has to go through there, there's no other alternative, then I have to get a wetland delineator out there. If I know it's not a wetland, or in my mind, I think this isn't a wetland, kind of like what Terry's saying, then I have to get a delineator out there, and he looks at it and does soil tests and looks at the plants. And, yeah, then he comes up with a report that I have to include in that permit application to be able to do that. Which is fine, but it's expensive, it's like $2,000 or $3,000 for each visit. You know, for him to generate that report.
And I'm sort of playing devil's advocate, cause at some point, you know, say you open these roads and someone goes out there and it, you know, there are other people that'll be looking at these roads, I'm sure, from the public, or maybe not, I don't know. But if they go out there and start seeing this stuff, you'll be opening up another can of worms, you know what I mean? So just trying to save a lot of time and energy and taxpayer dollars, and they're going back and forth and back and forth. So I think you wanna make sure you get it right the first time before you just start allowing access to all these places, but that's up to you guys.
Well, there's been access allowed there.
There's been access allowed everywhere for 100 years, Jay, doesn't mean it was the right thing to do.
Doesn't mean it was the wrong thing to do.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, tomorrow, if they wanna open a log job just past that, they'll drive 80,000-pound equipment, every piece of equipment in there, tear it to pieces, and maybe fix it back up somewhat.
Yeah, why is there a two-sided coin here?
Talk to your legislators. That's state statute, that there's a civil cultural exemption.
Well, right now, you're the representative for the DNR. so we're
I wasn't there
talking
at the table when they made all these decisions, so I can't speak on that, but I can only go with what is there now.
to you. Yeah, but that's the unfairness with this. If you can go in there on a log job, through wetlands, tear the wetlands all up, and then you come back and say, well, you have an established trail here, and it's a wetlands on the map, that means you can't go there, when the trail is nice, that's what doesn't make sense.
I'm not trying to make a decision for you guys or for the committee at all, I'm just trying to look at this objectively and say, you know, there's a cost to this if you don't have it right.
so if we get a wetland delineator, would they give, let's say, $3,000, could they go look at like multiple sites if they got like a list of?
Yeah, that's
Four or
how
five.
I would do it, I would look for like any sites within a certain area that could be visited, say in one day or a couple days, and you group them together.
How long does that normally take to get a field visit? Like a pretty quick process, he goes out there, he looks, he's like, okay, this is no wetland.
It depends on their scheduling, and then also they have to do it during the summer when there's plants that they can see. Probably like a 3-week turnaround for the report, or a month after they would do the visit and the soil test.
Who is Doug Brown to you? Is that,
That's just the one
Oh,
guy.
he's a county forest specialist.
so, in a statement he made to the press, it said, other counties have created access plans and then enforce that plan through policy according to Brown. Those counties have created some form of access that is designated as where ATV recreation can happen and where it cannot. Those plans can include ATV as well as non-motorized trails. Brown told attendees that the decision lies at the local level to determine what is best for the county.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not telling you, yeah, they can make the decision, I'm just saying, make sure you know what you're talking about, and that you say there's no wetlands, I don't know if you're the person that makes that decision, but I believe that you can access that area, you know, you're saying that you've been through there, it's dry, but all I'm saying is just get it right. Absolutely make it at the local level, I don't disagree with that.
However, he's the one that, carbon credits is asking, are we doing it right?
well, I'm good at that.
I'm sitting on the frustration side over here with these guys.
I mean, the local level decision,
There's a solution here. We'll get to them.
it's a local
The
level
solution that
decision,
we-
but the local level decision still has to be within the state statutes. You have to work.
If we're worried about the,
Delineators.
if we're worried about the carbon credit people and who we're getting our money from, and I seen that list, let's talk about Google's $5 billion lawsuit for hacking people's internet, or the $310 million sexual misconduct settlements. These are the people who are gonna be running our forest. It goes on and on, from Goldman Sachs, all the people who are giving this, and this is what corporate government is taking over our forest.
We allow out to them. Is this right?
Wasn't my decision. Your county board signed up for carbon credits.
I know we can unsign up for it too, but I think there's probably a solution somewhere in here. If we look at all the different angles.
I don't think any of us are proposing to have,
Yeah,
to open up trails that are swamps.
right, no, I agree.
We're not,
You can't-
so,
We're out there trying to do this the way it's supposed to be done.
And it's greatly appreciated.
This reflects back onto us.
That tells me
No,
it's
I
pretty
agree.
much exactly where.
I would agree with what you guys are saying, that.
On this map, I
what you're
can't, I
seeing
don't
and
have
everything
that.
you see, and I
I
would
don't have
agree.
the parcels in here.
But I mean, if there's an extra step we need to take
I
to
can turn that later
make sure
on.
somebody doesn't
to make it a slam dunk.
make it a slam dunk, we can do that too, right? You know, like you said, you just cover your bases, so. Now, how do we know what is a wetland on that map, or is there a different map that tells us?
The light blue is the map one.
Just a little bit of it.
Holy mother, that's really. Types of trees or something.
Yeah, it's state.
So you guys wanna see my trails now, or?
We're still on Jake's trail,
Example,
we just going down over
What's
there.
considered a wetland, what age, it's the north end of that field. If you back up 20 years, every ounce of that was farmed from Pat Morgan's house street south clear to the end of it. And it does not hold water, I mean, it's a farmable piece of ground. Very rocky, but farmable.
If I could weigh in a little bit here, I've been thinking about this for a while now, and I think that, and this is all new, and, you know, we're kind of feeling our way along here, but I think what we might want to do or need to do is have a more formalized process for all of this, you know, where, whether it's an individual that comes to the ad hoc committee, or whether it's the ad hoc committee members themselves, but they have a formal form that they can fill out, that we can fill out, giving the location of where, you know, like Jay, the trails you're talking about, where they're located, and have the documentation, you went out on this date, this is what you found, this is your recommendation. Those forms then can be brought back to the committee, and the committee can review those, and at that point, the committee can make the decision to say, yep, I agree with this information, I think we could open that trail, or I think, well, okay, there's some questions, let's have Forestry, Jared, or Land Conservation, us, go out and take a look at it and come back with a recommendation, or they can look at it at that form and say, no, I don't think that trail should be open based on what we're seeing, so. I'm just thinking that we want to have a more formalized process instead of sitting here and having this back and forth and, you know, he said, she said sort of thing. If we have this process and a form that we can follow, then it's documented and we can say, yes, let's go out and take a look at this one, and then come back with that recommendation. That is my 2 cents worth. And I can certainly go out, you know, and I'm not a DNR certified delineator, but I certainly have enough of a background in hydrology that I could look at an area and say, yeah, this is probably a wetland. You know, even though they might be dry, they might dry up, you know, there are ephemeral wetlands, that they're only wet part of the year, the rest of the year they're dry. it's still a wetland, it still meets those criteria based on hydrophytic vegetation and laying in the soil and the other criteria. I would certainly be able to go out and look at it and get enough of an idea to say, yep, we need to bring a delineator in here, or look at it and say, no, there's no way that this is wetland. So, I'll shut up.
I have one other kind of question, comment about, something I heard in the administrator's report. Looking forward, he said, into, the creation of more hiking trails. Okay, so are we gonna be included in them? As far as he's gonna make this hiking trail that we haven't got to inspect yet, and it's, I know of one in the Blue Hills right now that there isn't wetlands. There is not wetlands. And I've been across it several times with the wheeler with groups. There is not wetlands, no low ground. But then when he decides it's gonna be a hiking trail, then can we, once we say, yep, there's no wetlands there, okay, now it's changed. Or are we gonna hear, nope, he's made it into a hiking trail, walking trail, you're not ever gonna drive your wheeler in there. So are we gonna be a part of that process too?
All the Hunter Walking Trail grant projects that we've had have gone through the committee. It wasn't my decision, it was Jeremy's decision, or Paul Pesca's decision. Those grants were approved through the committee. If you wanna go back on those and open those up, that may be an option, I suppose.
I think it would
I'm
be.
not sure how it would look to the people who dole out the grants if we're gonna be doing that, but that's a risk you take.
Well, here again, George and I have done all the legwork to create the Felsomere Loop Trail. And then when Jeremy was still here, it was, those are funded hiking trails. Okay, well, we're gonna get $800 a mile. How many dollars a mile are you getting? Hiking trail, and I understand we have to have hiking trails that are non-motorized also. But I know an awful lot of people that have been to the Felsomere now on 4 wheels that could never walk in there, that whole distance. So the idea that because someone else has decided that this is just gonna be a hiking trail and we're locked out, here again, there's an awful lot of dollars that come in because of motorized traffic, and an awful lot of people that have thought it's pretty damn special to be in there.
So I would say, along the same lines, if there's a trail that you feel might be a good fit for a ATV trail, whether it used to be a hiking trail or not, I think you just follow the same process, and if we do slips or something, then we can vote on, does that make sense, does it not make sense? I mean, chances are right off the bat, you're probably gonna be looking for some of the easier right off the bat slam dunks before we get into some of the hiking trail stuff. And then at that point, we can make the decision, is that better just staying a hiking trail? I mean, we are looking at all user groups, definitely. But I understand, we wanna do what we can to open up hiking trails, we wanna do what we can to open up ATV trails, I mean, we wanna do what we can to open up as much as we can for the public to enjoy in all different ways, right? Disc golf, I'm an old disc golf course, or whatever that's called. So I don't think if we have a process, I don't think we're gonna fight you. I'm gonna go off your guys' word. I don't distrust you guys at all.
So the trails that I'm talking about, if you look past that, they have open trails past that. Pat is talking, and maybe he's talking about that little spot that's high and dry and was ditched. He's talking about going across that. The county, I was told this map was a compromise map from what the foresters put on. They're already going past that with open trails, the green.
I know where you're talking, I've been in there for 30 years of my life, I mean.
My suggestion is If we can't open those two trails, there's no point in going anywhere else in this county, cause those things are as hard as you're gonna get. I could drive my pickup down those 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, 60 if I was in a hurry. I mean, that's how hard they are.
That's hard.
Huh?
That's hard. So,
I literally brought you two that were the easiest you could get, and that's why I only brought two. There should be not one question. Terry's verifying. I went out there twice, cause John asked for pictures. I drove out there, looked at it, showed John the map. John said, did you take any pictures? Like, no. So I drove back out there and took pictures again. I mean, I got 2.5 hours of monkeying around taking pictures of a quarter mile of road, and we're sitting there debating it?
you like to make extra work for people.
Huh?
Is that John?
No, John,
Fitzel.
no, Runstrom.
Runstrom.
That's just who I spoke with to try to get him on the map. I mean, it could have been just as easy, but there's open trails past that. Well, they mow it with a big mower every year typically.
No, I don't.
I suppose if Noah's Ark is floating out there, that there may be some wetland, but I mean, this is a joke to me.
So I wouldn't really disagree with Nick. I think it would be a good idea to have maybe a little bit more formal process to this, but what's that gonna be? I mean, if we're not gonna come here and, you know, vote on this stuff, I'm not wasting my time coming to these meetings if we're just gonna go around in circles and nothing's gonna happen. So if there is going to be.
This is our first time.
I know
we're doing that, okay? Give me
I'm not talking about this one, I'm talking about the next
No.
two that we do this, it's gonna start getting aggravating, so.
We'll figure out something.
I'll have to figure out something, but, you know, I agree with these guys. If we put them here for a reason, I ain't got time, you ain't got time, you ain't got time. Bill, I don't know what you're doing these days, but the point is, that's why.
He's bringing ash bars in the county.
So, if I can't take their word for it, why am I even here?
I had 2 calls from people in the hills and I said, do not call me over there for anything that is not gonna pass. And then one guy asked for one road. I said, if it's not gonna pass, I don't wanna waste people's time.
Well, I guess I know what, Nick, I know what your map says up there. I understand the maps. But I can back Jay up. I've been on all of them trails for, God, since I was a teenager. And unless you got a summer where it rains every other day, that is rock hard up in there. It always has been. And it's been run for years and it's not rutted or anything. That's gotta tell some kind of a tale right there in its own right.
These trails aren't used on a daily basis.
No.
There's an awful lot of the trails that only get used in the fall, maybe only get used in the 9 days of season, and maybe 1 or 2 of them. And then we've got them closed.
Well, from the bottom of that little white road, southwest, that little red road that splits, that's all there is. It's less than a half a mile. And it's on a ridge. A ridge in Lee Lake country, let's put it that way.
Small ridge.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's above, it's aspen trees.
I haven't been on either of those.
The one going down south to Pat's ain't no different.
No, they're a good tree, they're good roads.
Yeah. I've been on both of them. So it's the one that goes around the lake, I mean, that's,
And as the formal, I asked the people in the hills to text me what are they talking, so we can review it, so we're not looking, so that's, cause I wanted something, you know, bit formal. This was asked by a landowner, this one, I said, I think they're closing that trail, and he said, oh, why would they do that? I said, well, I don't know, their map shows it as being on a wetland, but the whole road goes through a wetland.
Anything we close them, I'll say that Jake said no.
Well, and I'm looking at this, the map, and you have to remember, a lot of the decisions were made based on this data, which is the best we had available.
Yeah.
And I'm almost wondering if there isn't, if the map data isn't off a little bit, cause I see, you know, you look on the, you look at this, you know, you've got this little ridge here that's not mapped wetland, the same here. I'm almost wondering if it's not an artifact of the data. I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't, I just know how maps work and map data. You gotta remember that the wetland data and the ortho photo came from two different sources, collected at two different times. Different people created those maps. If this data is shifted a little bit, it may not line up exactly where it needs to be. So it could be a case where this wetland data actually is shifted over a little bit. While you shift this map, the wetland data over a little bit, all of a sudden those trails line up right where there is no map wetland.
Kinda like when the GPS in my truck, when they put a new road in and it says I'm going through somebody's field, but.
Similar, yes.
and Nick,
And I'm not saying it is or it isn't, I'm not.
Jay, tell me if I'm right or wrong, cause it's been a few years since I've been on them. But if you go about 100 yards northwest of them trails, you are down in more of a lower ground, am I correct?
Yeah, and actually, yeah, and if you.
150
Yeah,
yards.
and if you zoom out, according to Pat, and he showed it, so yeah, so right there, if you zoom in, you'll see going off that field, where they've got that road, if you line up north along the field there, the wetland is, where the green line is going north and south is actually the property line according to Pat. And if you go up to where it hits Holtz, above there, I mean, you might be in 6 or 8 feet of what shows wetland, I mean, it's in the high ground.
Yeah,
And what Holtz do on their property is, I guess, what they do.
I know for a fact right here, cause I farmed this field. This wetland is, I'm gonna guess, 200 yards off of the end of that field. That's high hardwood timber on the edge of that there.
So this all goes back to, that's why the committee is formed.
Yeah, I think we're,
And that's why we're going out there and putting our eyes on this.
to be honest with you, I'm not sure why I never thought of that before. We're taking these maps at 100% accuracy, and I know for a fact some of these trails that are on here aren't exactly as they are on this map.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and if you're looking at some of these trails that barely clip the side of a wetland or something, and we're gonna say we can't open them because they go through that wetland, I mean, if in real life that trail is 20 yards off, which is very possible from where it is mapped on here, it's not in a wetland. So I think we're taking these maps to be 100%.
Too much of a gospel, yep.
Correct. And yeah, cause like I know for sure that some of these trails aren't exactly as they are on this map. I mean, generally, are they right? Yes, but 50 yards can mean a lot when you're opening and closing a trail based off of a map.
An awful lot of these trails were put in on good, solid ground. And they're still good, solid trails, but because of somebody throws a map up like that, all of a sudden they're not a passable trail. And the maps aren't right, the wetlands map isn't necessarily right, but now we're gonna operate off a map that may not be correct.
Right, I mean, it's a guideline.
That's what the committee was formed for, to go out there and put our eyes on it.
And that's why we based our initial
Yes.
off the map, because as we have said 100 times, that is the best information that we had at the time.
I think it's looking at this, I mean, I never paid that much attention, but the corner of that field is not truly cut off. It is, the wetland is to the west of that. It's right alongside of that. You've been there, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, but if you
Two or
look,
three great big oaks right on the west side of that field.
yeah, I mean, we're still so far east of there, that's all on private. I mean, it's just that trail from the southwest corner of the Lee Lake Loop down to those two private properties.
So based on us not knowing that it is wetland, that's a good possibility, if not, I would feel comfortable opening it. And if in the future we find out there's a problem with the wetland where we, this is for sure considered a wetland, then we can go down the road of getting a delineator out there and stuff.
No,
But I
not
would
rather
say,
pull it
based
down.
on the information that we have, that might not even be wetland, I would feel comfortable opening up, that section.
That what we had said in the beginning of this, that there's some trails that we will be able to get opened, and then there's some trails that there's gonna come a period that we're gonna have to close a trail. So how is this different than that statement?
I just wanna argue with you once in a while.
Okay.
And then we just come to like a conclusion, I gotta argue with you. I would make a motion to, yeah, open those little red spots there.
For a second,
I do.
any more discussion?
We need a trail lane.
So I just say like, we're agreeing to open section, like, what is it?
It's
Like-
in the Lee Lake block.
Right, okay, so,
If you want.
Open up the red part that looks
you know
like.
what I mean, in a year, when you go back and look at the minutes, you're gonna look at it and be like, what does that
We
mean?
really got
Access to proper,
We really-
trail accessing property from Cody to Pat Morgan's.
We really gotta work on naming, like a lettering or something system for.
The state forest has a complete numbered system, and so does Sawyer County. They have every trail already pre-numbered, the ones that are open and the ones that are closed. And they did it 15, 20, 25 years ago.
They had a good start with that when we were talking ad hoc, the earlier ad hoc.
I'm bringing up my maps now.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I don't remember if this was the one.
No, it's the one up off the corner there.
This one up here, Nick. Right here. No, comes down the lines on there. It's Hubbard Township. Jay, are we 34 or 35?
I think it's 34, but I don't, on the side of the highway, where's.
Yellow? Yeah.
Now, of course, voting to open this, if somebody else were to go out there and said, hey, I found a big water pile and, I disagree, it could come back and vote to shut them down. Just saying, I mean, we're, like I said, it's a living document, as of right now, this is the best information we know on
And
this.
that's kind of the way we set this up, Phil,
Yep, exactly.
is for them to check them based on what they see.
Trail number LL-56.
LL-56.
That goes all the way out to both those?
That's the one, yeah, that's the one that I'm clicking on right there.
Yep, and it continues out.
Put that one there.
And the one right there.
Then the one going south too.
Just tell you like it's open.
Anything else?
Can we go to mine now?
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Jane took up all your time. There's no time left.
Nothing else, or you wanna?
He's got his trails now.
Waiting for Nick to get the maps.
Oh, okay.
So I guess, Jared, how hard would it be to make a form to fill out with a map? If they're picking a trail, then they would have the numbers for the trail. They could provide us with the pictures, the numbers to us, so we're not. Come up with a form that they fill out on the trail with a map,
Good, but not that
with the
expensive.
trail number you can get from him, so we ain't gotta go through this every meeting.
Yeah.
A few pictures that, hey, we wanna open this one up.
How do you want it submitted, like, they submitted it directly to you guys, or they submitted it, you know what I mean?
They have to
Because
submit
I'm assuming you
the
wanted it ahead of time.
They
That
can
way
submit
we-
it to you to put on the agenda.
Yeah.
And then when you send it out, we'd have the packet, we'd already have time to
I
count it.
just wanna make sure that's clear, that that's
Oh,
what's gonna
I know,
happen, so that,
I know.
versus
I
just
know
getting
what
back.
happens if it's, if
Are you in here, Russ, if you got 'em?
Yeah, if you can go like one floor block,
oh, anything but Forest, that we shut down.
come on now. Then go, we'll start in the Felix Road side, so go west, nope, on the other west, yeah. So this trail, these are both, there's a trail now that connects these two. That's crowned and ditched.
Where are you at here?
This is the corner of the Felix Road right
Yep,
here.
yep.
And this where Van Dorns were logging in here, that one should be good, which obviously on this map, those don't connect now.
But they do now.
Yeah, they do now. Yep.
Our
Which-
new snowmobile trail, if I remember right.
This is it's probably that, what you see there.
Your dad said that was like a highway.
So there was not a trail in
If you're in a hurry, you could go 60.
But there is. There was, there is now.
The newly constructed trail, I think.
Is that where that clearing is? Where that clearing is?
I think so. I think this almost looks like it's a pretty recent aerial.
Yeah, and, I mean, that one pretty much looks like it skirts even what the map is showing as a wetland there.
Well, Dane has driven on it with a truck, am I correct?
Yeah,
Is it wetlands?
Any issues?
We were down it the other day, cause we checked it for, that's where the new snowmobile trail route's gonna be, like.
Okay, from there, you can go east.
Well, let's approve that one.
Yeah, let's do one at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, that way we got to.
Is that a motion?
Yep.
We approve it and
This
get the
section
numbers
right down
later.
through here.
I'll make a motion to approve. You need to get the numbers later to put in the minutes.
Well, that one might not have
It doesn't have a number.
Right, you're gonna have to put it in.
I'm gonna have to add that.
I've actually been down to it last week.
In the minutes, you could put something about like the new snowmobile trail, Nick will get it,
Well,
you could sign a number.
That all depends if the snowmobile council approves our reroute. Right, Mike? We don't know what they're gonna do yet, so
We don't, I hope they will.
Okay, so
it gets us off of
the
Felix.
cleared section.
Created for the potential for the snowmobile reroute, so we know what it is.
Yeah, and then
Trail number.
Nick to add a trail number later to it or
So
something.
just a question, and this is just a question, you know, so there's no restrictions on these trails, if it rains 3 inches, people can be back there driving around, that's no problem.
I don't think there was anything in the ordinance that.
The worst part about it, Pat,
I mean,
these trails are, how do I wanna say this, these are not ridden trails, these are more access trails for the hunters. It isn't, everybody's got that same argument that they're gonna get beat to death by hundreds of machines, and that's not the case. It's, one guy goes in there 3 times a week to bait a bear bait, or one guy goes in there 3 days in the opening days of hunting season, it's the end of the story.
But someone could go in there.
They could, but the thing is, these guys don't go with a large amount of machines to nowhere. I mean, it's
These
not
guys
like.
don't, but I'm just saying, these aren't the only people using the roads, right?
Well, and if that happens, then, and a trail gets torn up.
Then we
have to
pull
shut
it
down.
But
Again,
it
in the
always
document, if
be
there
closed.
starts to be issues, you know, this is a new thing for us. If there's an issue here and we're like, okay, somebody everybody's tearing the heck out of it every time it rains a couple inches, it's not, we can modify that, or we could temporarily close stuff, like if, let's say it's like monsoon season or something, you know, suddenly we get a lot, we could just say everything's closed for a month. I mean, we could always bring that back to committee and say, all right, you know, there's an issue and we can address issues as they come up, but it's hard to be perfect. You know,
I think-
it's a lot that we've already went and we shrunk down to what we know, and then we can add and take away as we go along, but yeah, if there starts to be issues, we'll address the issues.
It puts more on the committee, Pat, but that's actually where it should be put. Both the committee that was applied and was chosen, and this committee to make the solid decisions. And the way that was written, I mean, Phil's 100% right. I mean, if somebody comes in here and shows damage on a road, we've got the authority, boom, the sign's gone, it's closed now. Or,
Joe,
you know,
goes down there tomorrow and says, hey, there's an issue here.
and they're automatically closed in the spring thaw and for a certain time, you know, for stuff to start greening up and firming back
Knowing the
up.
circumstances that we're gonna have, right?
Right.
Certain times we know there'll be an issue.
I think that you also have to, these areas here, in the Blue Hills, it may be a different, you know, completely different situation. But using the fact that something might damage it, people are spinning up gravel roads all over and they don't close roads because of that. You know what I mean? They just fix them or try to go forward from there.
These trails, it's wide open right now, right? Well, when me and my dad went and inspected some of these trails, I was the first one, the grass was this tall, I was the first.
That's why
First
your dad let me
machine
leave
on
the
it.
other day?
And like you said, if more people start using it, it might change the layout of.
Let's vote on that trail.
Burn it down, I see what you're going up there.
We're gonna vote on that trail, we'll move to the next one.
Anything else?
I've got a motion, I don't have a vote.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, we have section. Anything else? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And I think Jay made a very valid point when he just said, it could be a whole different ballgame in the Blue Hills, but the stuff in the Lee Lake and to the east and that there, half of the open trails will probably never see a machine.
Where's your second one?
This,
Ross, could you, I don't know about you guys, but I can't see, could you use that one?
or you want me to come from this side?
Well, I think you gotta
No,
go up there.
they're still turning around.
It's just a better
Oh.
situated.
Yeah.
Now, Jay got yelled at for coming over there, and then we're gonna.
At least for sure.
too.
Okay. This is a river road, this is County B right here.
Yep.
Where's this, county, this is the
Yeah,
corner
okay,
of B
yeah,
right
I
here in
gotcha.
the river road, this loop right here. And then also, I know there's a creek that runs through there, but it'd be nice to have this open, we could stop it there. And then this open from east south to the north and stop it. They just logged all this the last year, it's hard as a rock. Notice, this does not need to be open here. I drove my pickup through there the other day and it's fine, but I can see a situation where this spot right here, if we did get a little bit more rain, it's gonna be wet, but again, with this loop set up here, I don't really see any need for that anyway, so.
You're talking just that section right there?
Yeah, pretty much just this
Okay.
circle, and then this trail here, and this trail here, and then there was these two little stubs that come up. These, they didn't log in these, you can't even tell they're trails right now, so.
Those are, even according to the map, are not wetlands, and you see zero issues.
Zero issues. It was dusty.
Second? Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Does Nick know where we're at? So, these are the ones you're talking about,
Yep, and then these two little stubs here, there's a creek that we would have to.
And you're stopping before the creek, you said.
Correct, down. That, even that creek right there, you can't tell it's a creek right now, but again, I didn't see a situation where,
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do, put close saying,
Yep.
basically right in the middle of the road on each side of the creek?
Yep,
The back, that's what's going in blue.
that,
Now so the signs we order are open,
this till,
is there
like
close
right
signs we have to, like if we're coming up to a creek?
yeah, you can see where this filters through
Drive
here,
away
not really that
to,
creek,
to make
so
sure
it's
that somebody
straight
doesn't
up.
drive up, they see somebody else drove, or, you know, whatever. There's a creek, I can just keep going, is there a sign that
Split that
have
one.
that just to?
Correct.
Mine is a red laser.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Not because it shows certain flashing lights or something.
GL 175. GL
That number again?
176.
75 and 76.
GL 189. GL 190. GL 191. GL 204. GL 205. 205 will need to be split in half as partial closure.
Because if that's all high ground.
Okay, now, I think if you go east a little bit, like two more. And then right in here, this is they just logged, this is all, there's a creek or a culvert here. This is County B, then this is, no,
And
not Anderson Road, I always call it Soltex because they live right there, but, oh, dang it, what's the-
I know where you're at.
Yeah. Bergseth is right here, then John Anderson's road's right here. So it's right off the end of that road. This,
Crawford?
Youngberg.
Youngberg.
Youngberg, there you go, you got it.
You get a prize.
Zoom out a little bit, I just gotta figure it out. So this has been verified, we verified down to right here.
You're running out of gas?
On the chainsaw. So, yeah, this has all been logged, the logging stops like right about here, but I mean, this is good high ground down to there.
What about that?
There's a culvert there, and this road has been crowned as well.
So that's a stream with a culvert crossing.
Correct.
I don't know, Jared, I mean, I have, it's not my authority or anything, but I would say maybe this is one that we would want to go out and take a look at too, just to verify if that's fair.
Because of the crossing.
Because of the crossing and the way that looks like not just an isolated wetland, it looks like could be a drainage through there.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I think that crossing is really good.
Is it? I don't know, I've never
There's a
seen it, so I don't-
well, they've been pulling logs out of there here the last couple of weeks, they might be done now, but. So,
I've been in there since last fall.
So it looks, I was submitted it, it looks good.
Yeah, put it this way, they've been pulling logs out there, so.
I haven't seen it, that's the only reason I said, I would wanna take a look at it, that's only because I haven't seen it. If these guys have.
I'll make a motion open.
Second.
And right down the hall here, if there's a way, I would like to go farm it. That's all. There. Yeah, I like that.
Where about were you putting?
Right about here.
And so on this map here, that would be, this trail here is the one you're talking about?
Yep, right to here.
I just wanna use the trail. GL 208.
Okay, one more. Promise, that's it. I can just go
I need to
north
vote
a
on
little
this.
ways.
Okay, vote on whatever that last number was.
GL 208.
Wait, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
You gotta go west just to. Then go down just a little bit more. No, further down. There you go. So, this is a trail that we previously talked about with the elk food plots in them. But this is good all the way up to right here. Again, as we talked before, I would guess this is off just a little bit, cause there's no wetlands in that, on that road, it's good hard road, actually you can see the elk food plot there.
There again, that is a built road, that has culverts in it, it was ditched and crowned. It's been that way for decades.
Actually, this is good right now too, but I know,
Not normally it is.
no, 19 out of 20 years, that's not good, so maybe it's a stop.
29 out of 30.
That's the old snowmobile trail, right?
Yeah, yep, that is the old snowmobile trail right now, the snowmobile trail goes right here. Again, this, when my dad went down that, me and my dad went down that the other day, we're the first people all summer that have been on it, so it's little to nothing.
On the motion open.
Second.
Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is where the snowmobile trail,
I'll go back on.
this is where the snowmobile trail goes south now.
Yep.
And that is good, till we get down here to the creek.
Yep.
And aside from the creek, I believe it's good all the way down to B.
Correct, and I think we have that coming open off of B, up a ways, and,
Up almost to the creek.
yeah, I thought on our,
Yeah, up to here.
yeah, so you maybe could go a little bit farther here, but for the most part, that is all.
If the snowmobile club were to put a bridge in that, Gary,
That's a great trade.
we could drive it all the way through.
Actually, it is some work in that area. Town road, probably that opening box now.
The green line on that small section of white.
that, I had it designated as snowmobile only, and I'm not sure where that designation came from, it was just whatever that data I had.
He could probably give you an old map, he just changed it to you.
So that one,
You'll have to work with Mike on it.
maybe it always was, and I just had the old data that just said snowmobile only. Maybe you got a number for that, or, I don't think I was just, that's what I just started to look at, I don't even know if I remembered that, was show me.
That's one of the, also up here.
Up higher.
And then the other clearing up there, another,
Yeah, the other one's like,
up top of that.
And then, yeah, this black. Stop. Oh, damn, now I'm lost.
The black one.
It's basically, I think it's right.
Right here, right?
Or is it right here?
Well, it's.
no, the other way here, right there.
That's where you put the trail is.
Yeah,
So that's section of.
yeah. You can see a creek runs. That's left.
That's the first.
Yeah, see, I didn't number any of that stuff that was like a designated snowmobile trail, designated.
But that's technically the old trail. but you don't let it fly over.
Technically, it's the. snowmobile trail.
East of River.
Any other discussion?
I got one. A question on that black trail. What did it take to get that changed to, up by, Slack Road off Liberty?
So this section right down here, you could say, section old snowmobile trail. Section. Well, no, the unit number for the.
Another discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Don, what section are you talking about? Which one are you talking about? Trail?
Oh, off of Slack Road, to the west of W.
Gotta go south a little bit.
In that area? What's that?
This is Slack Road.
Right straight off the end. Right, yeah, right, what your pointer is right to there. That's a good hard road, right on top of the hill. Cars are driving in there. And it's a nice viewpoint from there.
See that one?
Is that a good road?
I've never been on that one before, Don. That, they've got a trail that goes straight south there like that?
No. I went partway down, I didn't go all the way down, I run out of time. The one that goes west.
the one that goes west is the Hunter Walking Trail.
Yeah, this one here is the Hunter Walking Trail.
What does it take to change that? The cars are driving in there now. And it's really a nice road.
So, the last few years with the logging gone in there, that's why George and I have tried to get that whole loop made into a abundant ATV trail. Cause it's already built
Yeah, it just ends, but it's a nice viewpoint from right there. That's obviously why people are going in there. Why can't that be a trail? Open trail.
Talked to the grant lady on county conservation aids grants. I don't know if she approves the grants or if she just is the person who fills them out. Roberto Mindbar, I think is her name. She told me that on these trail grants like that, they have a 40-year expectation of use. Otherwise, the financial obligation could be compromised or whatever.
How often are they supposed to be maintained? Are they mowed once a year, twice a year? What is the deal there?
Those are mowed on a rotation.
Every
Not
3 years
mowed.
or?
Ideally, every 3 to 5, depending on what we can do.
Has this trail ever been mowed?
No. This is the newest one.
Kept it such.
A lot of it's bare dirt, it was just.
That's a nice road going in there.
Just did some close out, timber sale close out. Couple weeks ago. It's all bare dirt at this point.
Yeah, why don't you look into that aspect? And we can bring it back and see what the agreement is, if we're able to do that, if we're not able to do that, or what the financial obligations are there.
I want the one that goes south, I'd rather.
We can't give us that. Well, and that's, the total project is around 5 million. 50/50 cost share. I think it's just under 25.
Is that money from the state, these hunter walking trails, or who's the lady from?
Yep. County conservation aids grant.
I mean, that's something we could put on the list too, of stuff that we look at too, you know, priority, what we're willing to put money into, you know, if it's worth turning into an ATV trail in the future, you know, and we're able to get out of it by paying them back, you know, we could explore that option too.
Well,
But if we find out exactly what's in the grant and what the deal is, and Derek does his research, then we can find out what our options are.
especially if we could transfer some of that to actual trails that maybe aren't as that people wanna use it for ATVing as much, cause like Ralph and I had that discussion about out there, bird watching and hunting. There's people that wanna be left alone, and we need to find some of those spots for them too, but not, if it's sectioning off monstrous good roads that could be utilized right away.
This is a bad spot. Good view, it's right on top of the hill, and then the perfect spot. Yeah, I go in and I met 3 cars, not pickups, cars. I want the one that goes south, but I don't know how far that goes, I wanna go 3/4 of a mile.
The big red one that goes straight south from.
I can't see it on that map. Yeah, it must be that red one right there, yeah. Yeah.
So I think that'd be the same process as we kinda did here for the other one, so we'd go out and verify, bring back some pictures and tell us, what part you got to, and then we could vote on it from there. And as long as,
I went over half a mile on it, I turned around, it was a good road that far.
yeah, if you go down the whole thing, and next time I wanna bring that back, it's like one of the ones we vote on, we could say, or if at that point you're like, okay, I know I stopped at this point, and that's all we wanna open up, maybe only half of it's good for some reason. But do the same thing, we're talking, if you foresee a issue in the future, like, hey, we get to this dry right now, but you can see where maybe it got wet, kinda use that process and to the best of our knowledge, but yeah, if you are able to verify it and bring back some pictures and stuff, we'll do that.
So going back to that, having a little bit more formal process, do we need to generate a form, or there won't have to be a lot on it, just.
That's something Nick could help us with, cause you've had some great ideas on that.
I was just gonna say, I think along those same lines, Phil, this is where we start to develop that more formal process. And I think that process would be, you know, between Jared and I and the committee, we can come up, and you guys, we can come up with some kind of a form, doesn't have to be very complex, but a form that is available for anybody in the county. They can fill out that form goes to the ad hoc committee, and the ad hoc committee then takes the time to review it, talk about it, if need be, go out and look at it, document it, take pictures, whatever we need. And then the ad hoc committee uses that to make a recommendation to this
Actually
committee.
turn it in to Heidi, so it comes in our packet.
Well, that's what I mean, I mean, it would go through that channel, but yes, it would come to Heidi to go on the agenda instead of, because what we don't want this to happen every forestry committee meeting where we sit and start going through trails and all that.
And it takes 2 hours.
What about this one? You know, you get that more formalized process, it's already been through the ad hoc committee, they've looked at it, they have some ideas.
So-
They can recommend one thing or another, and that's what comes to this committee.
So in the future then, if you guys bring back a form that's already been voted on from the ad hoc, you guys bring it to the ad hoc, you guys vote on it, bring the form here and say, or, you know, turn it into Heidi ahead of time so it's on the agenda. And then you can say, when you present it, you can say, this is past the ad hoc committee. I get that not everybody on it, cause I know what you're thinking, well, I haven't verified only one person, but the ad hoc committee can do the same process as we're doing, ask questions, right? And that way you guys have had a second shot to shoot anything out that.
So again, is that form something we need to make, or?
I think that's something that we can to collectively work on in the ad hoc committee. We can
Okay.
collectively come together at the next meeting and
Have the form.
When I signed up for the thing, this was one of the reasons thought this would work well. Be it further resolved that the Public Trails Ad Hoc Committee is charged with conducting field verification of trail conditions, reviewing trail requests and forwarding recommendations, open close status, trail use designation and or trail creation to the Rusk County Forestry Committee. We can't keep going in this big circular deal. If we're wanting to go verify, we can't go through 10 people to then go verify to then come back to those same people.
Well, read what you just said, you said they're charged with making a recommendation for the county board. So if you guys fill out this form. and
Right, but if it goes through forestry and then we're waiting on that, I mean, they should be able to contact us directly and we have the form and fill it out.
Oh, yeah, the people, yeah, no, I'm not saying the people, if somebody wants you to look at a trail, they should be able to go directly to you, I don't see an issue, or if they call Heidi because, you know, I mean, let's face it, she's generally the face of everything in forestry operations, right, she's the, if I don't know what to do, I call Heidi, I'm like, what do I do, right? So they might call Heidi and she might say, here's the number for Jay, you know, he's the chair of the committee. But then you guys collectively fill out that, one of the people in the committee fills out a form, brings it to your committee. You guys vote yes, as the ad hoc, we're charged with opening and closing trails. We agree that based on Don going out and checking out this trail, that the information he gives us, it sounds like a trail opening or a trail closing, whatever the case may be. Then you guys take that form, forward it to Heidi and say, we'd like this on the next agenda. These, you know, and at first it's gonna be, you know, 10, 12 at a time, or 5, 6, whatever in the future. We're probably gonna shrink it down, you know, once we go through some of the trails. But yeah, as far as if somebody goes directly to you, I don't think that's what we're saying. Nah, it's just, we want the form, we want you guys to vote on the form, so you guys all have a chance to kick out any, cause just like you tell the people, I don't wanna go out and look at something that's not gonna pass. I don't want, if one person here came here and brought up something that's not gonna pass, we're wasting our time. You guys got an opportunity to kick that out, and then it comes to us.
So, just a couple of personnel.
You're gonna have to go somewhere else.
I just got one other question on fire. Is there, with all these pictures they're getting, can we geolocate them so they can be used
On the map.
years down the road?
That depends on the camera that whoever's using.
Cause that'll solve arguments down the road.
I could take GPS location on it easily.
I like that.
You know, just have to figure out some place to put them.
Well, can you have it something where there's little pop-ups on the map?
Again, yeah, you know, if the data is there.
You're gonna have, by the time you're done, we're gonna have like a little video you
have
walk through the trail.
a layer on here that is photos that would be geolocated, basically would be a point on a map, and click on the point. It would bring up the picture.
I'm just saying, as long as we're collecting this information, let's make it usable down the road.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Might answer a lot of questions
Yeah.
15 years from now.
And that way, if somebody says, how did you make this decision? Here's the information I used to make that decision. Now, if the information has changed, this is the information available to me at the time. I can't physically go out and check out every single trout, so I gotta, Jared can, he's got trees to sell, you know, I mean, he can do some, but, you know, we're all limited on the amount of hours in the day, so I have, if we have that overlay on there.
Anything else on trails? Try and speed this up here a little bit. Maintenance policy.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll put the maintenance policy in.
So this goes back, we didn't have much of a meeting last month, but you guys wanted to develop or come up with a truck washing policy, so you wanted it on the agenda so you could make a motion to make a motion. Whatever you guys want.
Actually, property's working on it with the fleet. Do maintenance policy on all the county employees.
So if we just wait till you guys come back with it.
It's just gonna have to go into the handbook. So they're actually working on a policy now
Okay.
for the whole fleet.
Well, let us know when we'll get it on the agenda when it comes back up. Vehicle options. That's the trucks.
Phil, do you wanna move the number 10 up for now?
I have no problem.
Owen's been waiting carefully.
Okay, that's fine. Nobody has any problems with it? Okay.
Want me to start here, Jared?
Yeah, sure, Mike.
Alright, Owen got the bid for the rear door ATV bridge, it's a 100-foot bridge. And, we recently discovered that he had the wrong steel, not self-weathering steel, which is a treatment on the bridge rather than painting it. That's the steel that you buy and get for the bridge to build it. So we wanna know, where do we go from here? Does Owen start over? He's got two rails done, considerably, they're 100 feet long, and I think we've got a handout here that shows that.
Yeah, Terry is on the very back, so the back side of it, nope, one in your hand, there you go.
Oh, backside of the.
You'll see the picture, yep.
In the past, we've painted bridges before, and I told them that the engineer would have to approve that method of how that's done. It's probably not cheap or easy to do. So that's one option. The other option is stop, order the right steel, and start over.
How far did they get where we're at right now before they noticed they had the wrong steel?
To this point, I believe, right, Owen, you haven't worked on it since, you've not worked on the bridge since we discussed the steel?
No, I have not worked on the bridge. There was, I don't try to deceive nobody, but I put in the bid and I got the engineer form, sent that into my steel guys, got the steel, and I'm gung ho and busier in the dickens. And I told them, I cut the guys loose, told them to weld it together. They welded together. I got a phone call here a couple weeks ago that hey, perhaps you got the wrong steel. Uh-oh. I went back and checked my paperwork and it is not south weathering steel. I shut it down and I come to the forestry department, lay my cards on the table, and here's where we're at. And, I got a lot of steel, I got a 100-foot bridge to sell somebody if we can't make it work. But, I talked to my engineer, and he said with sandblasting and the correct paint, we can, you know, the dimensions of the steel and everything are correct. It's, it ain't the weight, it's you know, it's the south weathering part. So that's where I'm you know, that's where it's at right now. And I came to the forestry department, as soon as I found out, I went through my book work and checked the numbers, and it is not weathering steel. So,
So what's it gonna cost, or what's the price difference now we're talking to have that done?
How much do you think that will cost to do that?
how much?
Yeah, to sandblast it and to paint it.
Well, that's, I mean, that's not, the sandblasted paint ain't gonna be, I put a bid in for 95,000, I believe it was. And if I got a sandblasted paint, I'd rather take a little bite than trying to sell a 100-foot bridge. You know, that would be no extra cost to the forestry department. It's, that's what I gotta do, that's what I gotta do.
So the other half of the bridge, are we gonna have the right steel, or are we just gonna do this type of steel? On the rest of the bridge, is it gonna be laid out with this type of steel too?
All the steel is purchased
For this bridge?
for that bridge.
Okay.
So all of it would have to be sandblasted and painted?
How hard would it be?
No, all of it would have to be.
Yeah, the complete bridge. Except for the hand railing, I did not get that shipment in yet. I froze that because that was the last steel we put on. That, I probably could get, a weathering steel for the hand railing. But, that's a small part of the bridge.
What hoops do you gotta jump through, Mike, to change what was engineered here?
We just have to make sure, he would have to submit another engineer plan that would spec that painting out, and what that process would be. The engineer would have to approve that, and it's something that I would approve, it would be on the engineer, and submit that, be a change to the plan.
We really got a choice here, do it. I hate to hang one on a foot bridge, but.
As far as the grant funding goes, the state ATV grants allow either way. No issue there.
I say we change it and have it painted then, I mean.
Well, he's already got it this far.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm kinda on board with Terry, you might as well just sandblast and paint it and go with it.
What's the difference in cost between the two types of steel? Sure, there's a process that makes them different.
The cost on the steel,
Yeah.
weathering steel is more. How much more? I don't know, 30% or so, from what I could gather.
That means our bid should cheaper.
Well, not necessarily, because now he's gonna add in there sandblast and paint too, so, which is in the man hours to do it, so in essence, probably gonna turn out to be pretty much the same. Does that be a specific kind of paint to be used, I'm sure too?
Yeah, it's gotta be a certain kind of paint, a long-term paint.
Functionally, it's not gonna change anything, right?
No, no.
No, we've requested self-weathering steel for several years. A lot of bridge manufacturers use that exclusively. It's low maintenance, lasts a long time. Functionally, I don't, functionally, I don't think it makes a difference.
It's the same steel, it's just the steel's made with a chemical in it, self-weathering.
It's a slightly different alloy.
Same strength and everything. Just it was cheaper to do self-weathering steel than it is, it's actually cheaper to do that than the paint.
I would make a motion to have them sandblasted and painted and have the engineered stuff changed.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Justified storage. Thank you.
Okay, that's the motion that you can paint the bridge.
Paint the bridge?
Well, submit, you guys
What?
submit something, right?
Yeah.
You'll have to
Up-
supply.
Update the engineer plans, submit it to us, and
Okay, all right, I gotta get the lead out, get it in by the 15th of September.
Next week is okay.
Thanks, guys.
Equal options, what's the one we're on?
Okay, I appreciate it. Vehicle options.
Couple months ago, I was requesting a new truck purchase and, I think what came of it was to get some, look for some options of used vehicles. I think in your packet you have some stuff that came from Swamp Graver. Trucks are expensive these days. New is around 50. Something used with around 150 to 150,000 miles is right around 30 grand. At this point, to replace the intern's truck, I don't know that it's really necessarily, we won't have a truck until, they're about done for the year, so I don't see a point in buying a truck this month. We'll go buy a truck and it'll sit there until the interns are back next year.
One thing I question or I need to ask is there a reason you're going with diesel?
No, I told the guy I wanted gas, base trucks,
Then you
cheapest
have-
everything.
You'll have to go back and redo this thing because I think there's a lot of gas in there.
Yeah, so initially they were all gas, and then last week I asked him if those vehicles are still available, and they're all sold, so I asked him to send me some new stuff, and I just got it today from him. And there's some diesel in there. I have no interest in getting a diesel truck.
Yeah, because you're gonna save some money right there in the first place.
Yeah,
There's a truck coming out of the fleet.
What?
The truck's getting, coming down from the fleet.
Meaning the sheriff's gonna
Yeah.
buy new vehicles and they'll get one of those ones. Not me, don't look at me.
That's a lot of meetings.
what's wrong? You, Ben?
Is what you're saying, Jared, then is we don't need to do this, or you want?
No, I don't think we need to, we can wait.
We can pass and deal with it, what, next year, next
If there's
spring?
a fleet vehicle coming that we can get that's gonna be reliable,
Then let the cat out of
I'm
the
not
bag.
opposed to that option.
Okay, sounds good.
But we're gonna need some, I think we need something before next summer. Cause that worst truck, actually the worst two trucks are pretty iffy.
Do you necessarily have to be four door, or could you go with a single door?
There's usually three people that ride it at a time. Three people that ride it at a time.
Okay. I would, when it comes to that point, I think we should spread our search out wider.
Yeah, for sure, this is just.
I get what you said now, after you said he's got these and the diesels and all that.
Yep. Yeah, I don't wanna do something.
No, you guys can't justify the diesel.
Okay, let's go on to pesticide storage.
Okay, so we're requesting to purchase a pesticide storage cabinet. Currently, we don't have a approved storage cabinet for pesticides, so it's kind of a regulatory thing. We need to upgrade, I guess. Looking at about $1,700 to $2,000 cabinet.
Size cabinet, is it just a regular basic cabinet?
Actually, I do have it in here.
Yeah, what budget are you talking about taking this out of?
Probably forestry equipment.
What's so special about this camera one?
Pesticides have to be locked in a approved cabinet.
Separate from other stuff.
Separate from gasoline and other things that also have to be in an approved container. This is a cabinet, 2-door, 2-shelf, 65 by 43, and 18 3/4 deep. You can take a look. Flammables need a cabinet.
Chemicals.
Yep, we have them for flammables.
And that would be that forestry equipment, 811.
So where you going, to the bathroom?
3,000 in there right now. And we don't, we think we'll still be good for the end of the year.
Yeah, there was some in the other equipment line too, and there'd be like 1,700 and something still in that one too, so I mean, between the two. Some funds. Alright.
Come from over here.
Yeah, I trust you.
First time for everything.
I'll make a motion to buy a pesticide storage cabinet for up to, what did you say?
That one's just under 1,700, so that'd be the one we order.
Up like 1,700, what we say? We wanna go,
Unless the price goes up.
what shipping?
Plus freight, you don't have freight.
Oh, yeah,
So-
free charge.
Shipping and freight on this, so 2,000.
Up to $2,000. Expecting maybe just a tad less than that.
Yeah, it's like at that.
Just a second. Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried.
And that'll go to property committee for their approval.
You're not there.
You do all that.
Culverts,
Culvert purchase for timber sills. We have on several maps, we promised to supply a culvert for a stream crossing. A lot of times the logger will call and be like, I wanna put this road in tomorrow and I need that culvert and then we have to go to the committee to get approval. It's over $1,500 and then to property and it takes time. So what I am proposing is that we could purchase a handful of culverts to have on hand for those types of situations.
Kinda like highway does, they have.
Yeah. I don't want a stock near as big as them.
6, 5, 6.
Yeah, maybe 10.
Aren't you using highway now for culverts?
Yeah, but I still have to get.
I would be more inclined, Jared, I think, to get something set up,
Just go to highway.
just to go to highway and get them, because you're gonna get them cheaper through highway by the
Yeah.
bulk volume that they buy.
Yep.
And I think we need to change something or whatever when it comes to a culvert, if they need them, they can go to highway and get it.
Without the committee approvals.
Yes.
That would work too. My plan is, my plan was to exactly that, buy these from highway in the next month or whatever.
We like to have them separate so they don't use them, since
Yeah.
highway will use them up and then we won't.
Sometimes they don't have a in stock.
Yeah.
With essential culvert or whatever else.
Cause that's what we do for our trail projects too, our grant projects, we get them from highway and have them move them over to our pile, so they don't use them up when we know what happened, when we need.
How many are you thinking? What are you, talking 15, 18 inches culverts or what?
What I'm hoping is 2 or 3 48 inches, 2 or 3 36 inches. Maybe some 30s, but definitely a handful, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 18 inches. The smallest streams out there usually require an 18-inch. 36, we got one going in next week that's a 48-inch. Just so happened to already have that purchased because he approached us last year. The budget that I'm hoping to use is the Trail and Park Development budget. With the timber sale and a new culvert on some of these streams that are permitted culverts or grandfathered in through culvert exemptions. Could potentially be new roads that could be opened up for ATVs and UTVs after they're done. So that budget is actually not, you're not the oversight committee on that is the finance committee. For some reason that goofy thing was set up that way. However, I wanted your guys' approval to do this. Because
Sit on the trail.
The park and trail development.
Yep.
I don't think we should take it out of that budget line. We don't have enough in the road meter or any of the other budgets for them.
That's our best option.
You're not following the budgetary process when you're pulling out of the parks budget for forest roads.
No, it's a trail and park development.
Right? What you thinking, total? You don't know yet.
I don't know.
I know 36 and 48 is more expensive.
Yes, they are.
48 inches, $2,500. 36 is 1,500.
For a 20-footer?
30 foot.
Yeah, they'll pull it.
Oh, they do that.
Yeah, we get 30s for our, always get 30s, if they're fit.
18-inch 30-footers are $503. So those I don't, we can go get them as needed, I guess. So really just the 36 and 48 inches need to be pre-approved by the committees. So if we get 2 of each to have on hand, we're looking at 5,000 there, other 3, 8,000 or 9,000 bucks.
How long do you think they're gonna be sitting before you use them?
There's those contracts in 4 years, so they should be in before that.
I would say I'm not that, let highway sit on the inventory and just talk to Scott and make sure you have enough for what you need.
I would agree with that, because the summer's gonna degrade the hell out of it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
I would just talk to Scott.
Is there a way to get a waiver from having to get approval to buy them through you guys and property? Since they're over that $1,500 threshold.
Kind of. Maintaining the road. You're using the highway department, so.
It's internal.
It's internal, yeah. That'd be a question for Ashley.
Yeah, I think so.
So I would talk to Scott, tell him what you're looking at getting.
Yep.
Inventory. And then just tell him, hey, we might need these, we gotta have them sitting here. Instead of taking them out of the budget somewhere, but they got them there. If you needed 2 or 3 of them.
I was saying.
It's not like you're putting them all in at once, but just say, hey, you gotta at least keep this many on hand if we do need them.
Yeah, normally we just paint forestry on them.
Yeah.
And then in the rare instance where they would actually need it before we would,
They can replace
they
it.
let us know that.
They get it
Say, yeah, go
replaced
ahead.
before they
Replace it, yeah.
Yep.
I think that's better than taking it out of the budget.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to Ashley about it, transfers like that.
It's gotta be a.
And it's kind of been working already. Sometimes it is the painting. If you got good weather, they want the kids to work.
Right.
At the same time, I can tell them it's their fault they want ahead.
You talk to them, just tell them, you gotta keep that many on hand for you.
That sounds good.
You got a parts guy that's supposed to keep track of all that.
Yeah, Nathan, I talked to him just yesterday.
We wanna do the special use areas today?
Postpone it till next month.
Well, that's what I'm asking. What do we have to get done today? The rear door gravel bit, I would presume?
No, highway's doing it, ain't gonna be able to go for that, is it, Mike?
Well, I put it on here because if they couldn't get it done, we're gonna have to get it bid out and bid it out in a hurry. You know what I mean? Like, once we get to the end of September, and if it doesn't look like they can finish it, then I gotta get that bid out. And it might have to happen before we have a meeting or get
Yeah,
approved.
but we can't put a bid out now if they're gonna get it done too.
No, this is
We're just hoping to get an approval.
asking for
everything.
future approval to bid it out.
And once
If they can't do
Once
it,
that time comes, obviously, we look at exactly what they got done and just.
bid out the remainder.
Like a time saver.
I would so move approval if needed.
Is there a second? I'll second with Jared, second. Discussion? Not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Little Thornapple Snow Bridge,
Yeah, just requested to have that bid out.
So move.
second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried.
I'll make a motion to approve the out-of-county travel. All of them.
The legislative field tour, I'm not going to. Is there a second? Second? Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, carried. Closed session, closed session, we need that?
We need that, Vinnie? Closed session?
That's not a me question.
Oh,
That's
that's
last
for,
September case
okay,
one,
yeah,
so.
that's done with Narnia. What's the other one? That has one more sale that's still not running, this is one that we already gave them a 1 year.
Are we gonna close?
So, not influence, so,
Yeah.
here's the names.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
We have time to go into closed session.
We should have, shouldn't
I'll
take
make a
that long.
motion to go into closed session.
Is there a second?
Yeah, read it out, John.
Yes.
Phil?
Buddy.
Gary? Gary, me, yes.
You better read it.
Oh, I
You gotta read the
think
statute.
Oh, that's right.
it's not down the lot.
I'll announce this closed session for deliberating and negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session statute. 19.85, paragraph E. I mean, you will have to list everybody in the room, even the county board members, because they can sit in it, they should be listed in the closed session.
Next meeting is September 20th.
Yep.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.